The house was quiet. Too quiet. In the early hours of March 1st, 2008, firefighters arrived at a rural home in East Texas, responding to what they believed was a routine house fire. But when they stepped inside, they didn't find an accident. They found execution. A mother, a father, two young sons, shot, burned, left where they fell. And standing outside, wrapped in a blanket, sobbing uncontrollably, was the family's teenage daughter. She told police she had slept through everything. But what investigators would soon discover was far more horrifying. The murders weren't committed by a stranger. They were carried out by someone welcomed into the home. And the reason it happened? Something so small, so ordinary, it almost feels impossible. Welcome to Unimaginable True Crimes. Here, we expose the unimaginable, one case at a time. The Curfew family lived in Emory, Texas, a quiet town where everyone knew everyone. Terry Curfew, a local youth pastor, deeply religious, respected. Penny Curfew, a devoted mother, warm, protective. Matthew and Tyler, two young boys, full of life. Their home was modest but loving, faith-based, structured, protective. And at the center of it all was Erin Curfew, their 16-year-old daughter. Erin was rebellious, not wild, but resistant. She didn't want strict rules, she didn't want curfews, she didn't want limitations, and she definitely didn't want her parents interfering in her relationship with Charlie Wilkinson. Charlie was older, quiet, brooding. He wasn't what Terry and Penny wanted for their daughter. They disapproved, they restricted contact, they enforced boundaries. To Erin, this felt like oppression. To Charlie, it felt like rejection. The conflict wasn't dramatic. There was no screaming match, no violent threat, just a curfew violation, a refusal to allow Erin to see Charlie as often as she wanted. A typical parental decision. But in Charlie Wilkinson's mind, and in Erin's, this wasn't discipline, it was war. Instead of running away, instead of breaking up, instead of waiting, Charlie made a decision that would destroy every life connected to him. He recruited help, 2 accomplices, weapons, accelerants. This was not impulsive, it was methodical. After midnight, the house was asleep. The family had no warning, no chance. Charlie and his accomplices entered the home. What followed was not a fight, it was an execution. Terry was shot first, then Penny, then the boys. Room by room, shotgun blasts in tight spaces. When it was over, gasoline was poured. The house was set on fire. To erase evidence, to erase lives. Erin emerged from the burning house. She was alive, uninjured, crying. She told firefighters she had been asleep, that she didn't hear anything, that she didn't know. But detectives noticed something immediately. Her grief felt rehearsed. If this story already feels unbearable, understand this: we're still only at the beginning. If you value deep, investigative true crime that exposes how betrayal begins quietly, subscribe to Unimaginable True Crimes and like this video. It helps us keep telling stories others avoid. Investigators quickly realized Erin's phone had been active, messages had been deleted, calls had been made after the murders. The timeline didn't match her story, and neither did her behavior. Within days, Erin broke, and when she did, the truth stunned even veteran detectives. She hadn't just known, she had helped plan it. Her parents were dead, her brothers were gone, and the argument that started it all? A curfew, a boyfriend, a rule. When Erin Curfew finally spoke, it wasn't a tearful breakdown. It was quiet, controlled. Investigators leaned in as she admitted what no one wanted to hear. She hadn't just survived the murders, she had helped make them happen. The room went silent, not because police were shocked by guilt, but because of how small the reason sounded when spoken out loud. A curfew, a relationship her parents didn't approve of, rules she hated. That was it. 4 lives erased over something most families argue about every week. Charlie Wilkinson wasn't loud or aggressive in the way people expect killers to be. He was soft-spoken, withdrawn, brooding. He dressed in black, listened more than he spoke, carried himself like someone misunderstood. To Erin, he felt like an escape from structure. To her parents, he felt like a warning sign. They didn't forbid the relationship outright, but they tightened the reins. Limited visits, stricter curfews, more supervision. They believed they were protecting their daughter. Charlie believed they were standing in his way. As the restrictions grew, so did the resentment. Erin vented, Charlie listened, and instead of calming her, he validated the anger. They don't understand you. They're controlling you. They'll never let us be together. It became us versus them, a classic manipulation pattern. Every boundary her parents enforced was reframed as cruelty. Every rule became proof they were ruining her life. The idea that parents were simply parenting disappeared. In its place grew something far darker. According to court testimony, the unthinkable idea didn't arrive all at once. It slipped in slowly. What if they weren't there? What if we could be free? What if this all just stopped? At first it sounded hypothetical, dark fantasy, teenage exaggeration, but Charlie didn't shut it down. He didn't say, "That's crazy." He explored it. And once a thought like that is spoken and not rejected, it changes shape. It becomes a plan. Charlie didn't act alone. He brought in 2 accomplices, both young men who drifted in similar circles, angry, detached, eager to prove themselves. Weapons were discussed, entry points mapped, the family's routines studied. This wasn't a moment of passion, it was premeditation. The house layout was known, the sleeping patterns predictable, the goal clear. No witnesses, no survivors, except Erin. This is the part that haunts people the most. Erin didn't just know, she provided details. She told them where her parents slept, where her brothers slept, which doors would be unlocked. She stayed behind when the others entered. She knew exactly what was happening inside her home, and she waited. The murders unfolded quickly. The house was quiet. The victims had no chance to fight back. Shotgun blasts echoed briefly, then silence. The killers moved from room to room. Afterward, gasoline was poured. A match was struck. Fire swallowed the evidence, and the killers fled. When Erin emerged from the burning house, she played her role, sobbing, shaking, wrapped in a blanket. She told responders she'd slept through it, that she heard nothing, that she had no idea who could do such a thing. But detectives noticed something unsettling. She never asked about her brothers, never asked about her parents. She cried, but the questions weren't there. Technology cracked the case open. Phone records showed calls made after the murders, deleted messages, contact with Charlie immediately afterward. The timeline collapsed, her story unraveled. And when confronted with the evidence, Erin didn't scream, she nodded. Psychologists later explained what police had already sensed. Erin wasn't driven by hatred, she was driven by entitlement. She believed her happiness mattered more than her family's lives. Her parents were obstacles, her brothers were collateral. That belief didn't come from nowhere, it was cultivated. When Charlie was arrested, he showed no remorse, no shock, no confusion. He confessed calmly, methodically. He spoke about the murders as if describing a completed task. For him, the problem wasn't the killings, it was getting caught. If you're still watching, understand this. Stories like this aren't about monsters hiding in shadows. They're about how resentment, manipulation, and silence can escalate into irreversible violence. If you value deep, uncomfortable truth over surface-level crime coverage, subscribe to Unimaginable True Crimes and like this video. It helps us keep doing this work. Emory, Texas was never the same. Church pews sat empty. Neighbors questioned every smile. Parents looked at their own rules differently. How could something so small trigger something so catastrophic? In the weeks that followed, charges were filed, multiple counts of capital murder, the death penalty on the table, and at the center of it all, a teenage girl who had outlived her entire family. When Erin Caffey walked into the courtroom, she didn't look like a monster. She looked like a teenager, small, thin, hair pulled back, hands folded in front of her like a student waiting to be reprimanded. That contrast alone made the room uneasy, because sitting behind her were photographs of the people who no longer had a voice. Her mother, her father, her two little brothers, the same family she once ate dinner with, the same people who tucked her in at night, the same people she helped sentence to death. Emory, Texas packed the courtroom, not out of curiosity, but fury. Parents sat clutching photos of their own children. Church members whispered prayers under their breath. Former friends stared at Erin as if trying to reconcile the girl they knew with the crime they now understood. Many had taught her in Sunday school, babysat her, watched her grow up. Now they were watching her trial for orchestrating the annihilation of her own family. Prosecutors didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to. The facts were devastating on their own. They laid out the timeline, the escalating conflict over Charlie, Erin's role in providing access to the house, the phone records, the confessions, the fire. They showed jurors how Erin had options. She could have run away. She could have waited. She could have rebelled quietly like millions of teenagers do. Instead, she chose extermination. Then came the detail that made jurors physically recoil. During testimony, investigators revealed that Erin knew her brothers would be killed. She didn't try to protect them, didn't warn them, didn't beg Charlie to spare them. Two little boys, too young to understand curfews, rules, or resentment, were murdered so she could be with a boyfriend. The courtroom went silent. Some jurors stared at the floor. Others couldn't look at Erin anymore. Erin's attorneys argued one thing above all else: age. They portrayed her as manipulated, groomed, emotionally immature, controlled by an older boyfriend. They said she didn't fully grasp the consequences, that she was a victim too. But the prosecution dismantled that argument piece by piece. She didn't just agree, they said. She facilitated, she waited, she lied. This wasn't coercion, it was participation. Then Charlie Wilkinson took center stage, and whatever sympathy Erin's defense hoped for began to evaporate. Charlie showed zero remorse. He described the murders clinically, detached, as if explaining a routine chore. He didn't cry, he didn't apologize, he didn't hesitate. He confirmed Erin's involvement, without anger, without guilt, just facts. In that moment, the courtroom saw him clearly. Not a misguided boyfriend, but a man who weaponized someone else's resentment. Texas law allowed the death penalty, and many in the courtroom wanted it. They wanted balance, justice, something that felt equal to the loss. But Erin was 16 at the time of the murders, and that changed everything. The jury faced a moral crossroads. How do you sentence a child who helped murder children? The verdict came quickly. Guilty, on all counts. Capital murder. No ambiguity, no hesitation. But sentencing was another matter entirely. After long deliberation, the court handed Erin life in prison with the possibility of parole. The room erupted. Some cried in relief, others in outrage. Many felt it was too lenient. Others believed death would have been too easy. The most haunting moment didn't come from Erin. It came from the spectators. Mothers who whispered through tears, "I would die for my kids. I can't imagine choosing a boy over them." This wasn't just a crime. It was a rupture in how people understood family loyalty. Before sentencing concluded, Erin was allowed to speak. Her voice trembled. She said she was sorry, that she wished she could take it back, that she loved her family. But many in the room noticed something missing. She spoke about regret, but not about responsibility. She mourned her loss, not theirs. If this case is disturbing you, it should, because it forces us to confront something uncomfortable. Sometimes the threat isn't a stranger, it's someone inside the house. If you appreciate true crime told with honesty, not sensationalism, subscribe to Unimaginable True Crimes and like this video. It tells the algorithm these stories matter. Charlie Wilkinson received life without parole. No possibility of release, no second chances. He will die in prison, not as a misunderstood youth, but as what he proved himself to be. The Curfew home was demolished, the land sold. Nothing remains. But the scars didn't fade. Survivors carried guilt. Neighbors questioned every argument they ever had with their own kids. Parents wondered, where is the line between discipline and rebellion? And can love really turn into a weapon? When Aaron Curfew disappeared behind prison walls, the public conversation didn't end, it intensified. Because unlike Charlie Wilkinson, sealed away forever, Aaron's sentence came with a word that unsettled everyone who heard it: parole. Not now, not soon, but someday. And for a town still mourning two small boys and their parents, that word felt like an insult carved into stone. Prison stripped Aaron of every illusion she'd ever had. No music, no boyfriend, no rebellion as romance, just routine, concrete floors, locked doors, a number instead of a name. She entered the Texas prison system as one of the youngest inmates serving time for capital murder. At first, she struggled. Nightmares, panic attacks, isolation. Other inmates didn't see her as a tragic teen. They saw her as something worse. A girl who chose a boy over her family, and prison has little patience for that. Over the years, Aaron wrote letters to relatives, to church members, to strangers who wrote to her after documentaries aired. Some letters were apologetic, others were defensive, a few bordered on self-pity. But one theme ran through all of them. She wanted to be seen as changed, as remorseful, as someone no longer capable of the girl who unlocked the door. Religion re-entered Aaron's life behind bars. Bible study groups, prayer circles, confession. She spoke openly about forgiveness, God's forgiveness specifically. But for many watching from the outside, that raised a hard question. Is spiritual forgiveness the same as accountability? Because forgiveness doesn't resurrect the dead. The Curfew extended family didn't move on. They aged. They carried anniversaries like weights, birthdays that never came, graduations that never happened. Two boys forever frozen in childhood. When parole discussions began circulating quietly, relatives spoke out. They reminded the public, Aaron didn't just witness a crime, she enabled it, she planned it, she waited for it, and she lived. Texas law allows Aaron to apply for parole after serving a significant portion of her sentence. That possibility ignited a national debate. Some argued she was a minor, manipulated by an older man, deserving of a second chance. Others responded, her brothers were minors too. They didn't get a second chance. Intent matters more than age. This wasn't a legal debate anymore. It was moral. Charlie Wilkinson never appealed, never expressed remorse, never sought redemption. He remained unchanged, proof to some that Aaron had been under his influence. But to others, his coldness only highlighted Aaron's agency, because influence doesn't unlock doors, choice does. Can someone who helped murder their entire family be rehabilitated? Psychologists disagree. Some say adolescent brains are still forming. Others argue moral boundaries are established far earlier. This case became a textbook example in criminology classes, not because it was rare, but because it was intimate. Years later, documentaries and podcasts continue to resurrect the case, and every time they do, the comment sections explode. She was abused. She was evil. She was a kid. She knew exactly what she was doing. No consensus, only discomfort. Erin lost freedom, but she also lost something else, something harder to measure: identity. She will never be a wife without an asterisk, never be a mother without whispers, never be free without the weight of 4 graves behind her. Her name will always come with context. This wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice made slowly, deliberately, and quietly. A reminder that evil doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just waits. Before you go, think about this. If Erin had run away instead of unlocking the door, would anyone have died? Does age excuse intent when the outcome is irreversible? And the hardest question of all, can remorse undo consequence? Tell us what you think in the comments. If this case shook you, that means it mattered. Subscribe to Unimaginable True Crimes for investigations that don't look away. Like this video to help these stories reach people who need to hear them. In our next episode, we examine a man who didn't need accomplices because he planned everything alone. A family annihilator who vanished, changed his identity, and lived free for nearly 2 decades before being caught. The chilling case of John List and the murders that shocked America.